and welcome again. My name is Sarah Vatch if you are new to just joining us, and I will be presenting today on study abroad opportunities in Europe. There is a lot to be had in Europe, a lot to learn about, so I hope that we can find a great program for you to apply to for the future or learn more about today. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share my screen so we can just get started on the presentation, and then I'm going to answer questions and kind of see where you're all at with studying abroad and your interests and all that good stuff. Okay, so it takes a minute to share. I'm going to start the presentation. All right, cool, here we go. So study abroad Europe. There are a lot of fantastic opportunities in Europe. I'm just going to move my little screen so I'm not blocking any of the good info. So why Europe, you might ask, right? So there's a diversity of countries, languages, cultures, many countries close together, very easy to travel around and see other countries. I say this with understanding that COVID may change a lot of this, right? Depending on when you all are thinking about studying abroad, may change the previous idea we had of studying abroad in Europe, in the sense that it may or may not be as easy to travel around and backpack around and see all the countries that you may have previously imagined in your mind, right? So that could change, right? So maybe it's about exploring the country you're in. A lot of the times students come home from studying abroad and they say, oh, I saw so much, I traveled everywhere, but to be honest with you, I didn't really see my home country very much. So I think we don't know what's going to change. We don't know what's going to be different right now. Honestly, we're all kind of on the same page of learning as we go. But what we do know is Europe is centrally located. There's a lot of countries near one another where you can do a lot of really interesting travel. So that is a really big plus for Europe, of course, right? Lots of languages to learn, languages to explore, and as I mentioned, the travel portion. In Europe, you can study pretty much everything. There's a wide range of academic areas and options for study. So depending on where you want to go in this and the program that you choose, Europe can provide a lot of curriculum to help explore and expand your studies. Of course, in Europe, tons of history, right? We are young here in the United States, so going to Europe, we get to learn a lot and see architecture, art, museums, pretty much, you know, lots of famous and old ways of living and where our culture, part of our culture is established, right? So it's interesting to go see all of these places that we've learned about in our classes. I do see there's one question. I'm going to answer that at the very end. So thank you for your patience. And a wide mixture and diaspora of people from all over the world. All people from all over the world come to live in Europe. There are people from everywhere, which makes European countries so rich in culture. So you can really learn so much, not only about the country where you're learning in, but what brought people there as well. So Europe is very interesting. There's a lot to see and do and learn. So now it's going to be a matter of narrowing down all these amazing choices for you. All right. So there are many, many programs and ways to study abroad in Europe. We are going to talk about 4 different ways that you can study abroad in Europe. UCEAP, which is the UC System-Wide Study Abroad provider, our in-house global seminars, which are UCSD courses taught abroad instead of in your classrooms on campus, and then programs offered by study abroad providers, and I'll go into that a little bit later, as well as global exchanges, which are relatively new to UCSD, but we have a couple in Europe that might be interesting to you. We'll highlight a few, and then as I mentioned, we will answer questions. All right, so let's jump into it. UCEAP, and these are in no order. I'm just talking about these in the way they came up, but there is going to be a good fit for everybody. So for those of you who have not attended one of our first step sessions, if you haven't and you still have more questions about the process of studying abroad and what it means, I would encourage you to attend our session today at 2 o'clock. So right after our session ends, you could have a little breather and then jump on that session, and they'll go into a bit more detail into what UCEAP, OAP, all these acronyms that I'm talking about today are, okay? So I'll go into it a little bit, but if you need more details, it never hurts to attend our first steps session in the webinar that we'll be offering at 2 o'clock. So UCEAP is the UC System-Wide Study Abroad provider. What that means are the courses you take are UC transferable, that is automatic. The grades you get will factor into your UC GPA on campus. You still need to speak to your college, your major, your minor advisors about how then those classes fit into your academic plan. But we know just by attending and taking courses, they're going to be UC transferable. They're going to end up on your academic history and have that impact on your GPA. UCEAP only serves UC students across California, but you may find yourself in programs with students from other universities, and so it's not all programs are only UC students. So there's a lot of variety, and that might be the theme of today, is there's a lot of variety, there's a lot to choose from, but we're gonna help you narrow it down just a little bit, a little snippet. So immersion, you may wonder what that means. What does it mean to be immersed? Well, for UCEAP and other study abroad providers, immersion means you are studying alongside local and other international students. So UCEAP offers, as you can see, a lot of variety of immersion options. So as you can see, they're in France, Cyprus, Netherlands, Germany, Spain, Italy, Switzerland, Scandinavia, UK, and Ireland. Those are others, will be other sessions, but I just wanted to let you know that they, sometimes get lumped in. Those are all immersion options. So you would be taking courses alongside local French students, local Dutch students, along with other international students who are studying abroad there for the term, or maybe they're visiting students for a little while longer, which is really exciting. What's neat about immersion is you have a wide variety of courses and curriculum to choose from. Some programs may be better than others in terms of taking biology classes or taking sociology classes, but you do get a lot of that variety within the curriculum, and you get to choose from various departments. And UCEAP does an amazing job highlighting which departments and disciplines that you can take and are strengths at those universities. You may see these countries and say, I don't speak French, I don't speak Dutch, I don't speak German, and that's okay. Sometimes you will find a program where you are required to speak the host language, and you'll find that in France and Italy and Spain and Germany. But a lot of these programs too offer options where they offer enough courses in English where you don't need to speak the host country's language. So an example of that is the Netherlands. All of the universities that UCEAP partners with in the Netherlands offer their courses in English. So you could be in a class. I had one student last fall who was in a class with all Dutch students. He was the only American international student, and the professor and the students easily switched to English, and that culturally is because Dutch people start learning English very young, elementary school, and so it's quite easy for them to switch to English in their university, and they know that that could be an option for them when they're taking classes. All of the Dutch universities have that option. You actually no longer learn Dutch in the beginning of that program. So you are focusing on taking your courses in English. And I'll continue with that as an example. I've sent students on Dutch programs who are everywhere from computer science majors, biology, psychology, humanities, social sciences, you name it. So they offer a lot of variety there. programs where you may need to have 1 or 2 years of the language would be some of the programs in France, but not all. Some of the programs in Germany, but not all. Spain, etc. So on each of the programs requirements, it will mention if language is required and how much as a prerequisite. So that's where you'll find that info. But the great thing about these options is there's a lot of diversity in the kinds of classes and locations. That goes for, going back to locations, that is something you'll find too. So maybe you want to be in France, but you don't want to be in Paris. The UCEAP offers programs in Bordeaux, Lyon, other cities within France, so you can have a different kind of experience than being in one of the larger cities. So that's immersion, and I can answer more questions about that at the end. But so you can see lots of diversity in the countries and programs. And the little asterisk next to Spain, I just want to show you next Friday at 10 a.m. there is a presentation on Spanish-speaking countries. So that will go over Spain as well as, of course, locations in South America. And then on Wednesday, I believe the 27th, there's a UK and Ireland presentation. So if you want more information about those locations, definitely attend those sessions. But I want to kind of generally go over what's available for you in Europe. All right, so the next is our UC and study centers. So what does that mean? So sometimes immersion is not an option where you can attend the local university, and there are programs in country where you are taking classes with other UC students or other international students, and only other international students alone. So you won't have local students in those programs. So those are what are referred to as UC centers or UC or study centers. So for example, UC has UC centers in Paris, Madrid, Rome, Florence, and there are study centers, so international programs with other providers in Russia, Czech Republic, Hungary, and Germany. Okay, so it's a bit of a mix. So immersion, you get to take courses with local students. UC and study centers, you only take classes with other study abroad students. Some of these do have the opportunity for you to mix it up and take some classes at the study center and maybe 1 or 2 classes at the local university. I've noted that for Russia, Czech Republic, and Hungary, UCEAP partners with a provider to allow students that opportunity. All right, so that's UCEAP in a nutshell. Lots of great opportunities. I will say the UC and study centers mostly focus on humanities and social science and language learning. So you won't get a ton of STEM at the UC or study centers. You'll find that more in the immersion options, but UC and study centers are great for social sciences, humanities, language learning, and the arts. Just to point out, if there's any people interested in film, in Prague in the Czech Republic, there's an opportunity for you to take courses at FAMU, which is a famous film and media university. So just to kind of give you an example of some of the differences between the two. All right, moving on, global seminars. So you may have heard of global seminars before. These are UCSD courses taught over the summer, 5 weeks. But instead of being taught in Center Hall, or I guess in this case, on your computer, they are taught all over the world. So these are courses that you will see offered here at UCSD, but over the summer instead, these are just some examples. There's many more on on our Global Seminars website, which is just globalseminars.ucsd.edu. Just wanted to point out some amazing examples. So theatrical design, Jazz in Paris is one of our longest running and very popular global seminars. And then of course, in Rome and Russia. So these change every year. Some stay the same, some are new every year. Unfortunately, due to COVID, all of our summer programs were canceled, but we're already planning for next summer, and they have a lot of great and returning global seminars planned for you, eager to get students abroad next summer. you can be any major for any one of the global seminars, even though it may say theatrical design. You don't have to be a theater major. All the global seminars are built for accessibility for all students. All you need is a 2.0 GPA, and you are eligible for the classes. So global seminars are an awesome opportunity for all students to study abroad. And it's a great introduction to study abroad if you've never been abroad before. And usually, typically, a lot of our students who study abroad through global seminars then, you know, go through UCEAP or an OAP option because it just like got their appetite ready for more study abroad opportunities. So these are global seminars. They're UCSD courses, so they're UC transferable. You take 2 classes for 8 units. The other great thing about global seminars is these are very small classes. You're usually max about 20, 25 students with a professor, which means you get a really nice intimate experience with a professor, which doesn't always happen on campus when we have our very large class sizes. So it's a nice opportunity to get to know professors and your other students and build those bonds. So on the Global Seminars website, there is a lot more to see of with syllabi, cost estimates, many more details, videos, beautiful pictures of the different locations. So please keep your eyes open and ready to see what Summer 21 has to offer. All right, so OAP. OAP is one of our many acronyms, and then you see some more on the screen, right? So OAP stands for Opportunities Abroad Program. That is our in-house way of categorizing every other way there is to study abroad. So students can choose to study abroad through another university, a provider, as you see some listed here, which means these are companies that work with universities to send students abroad, kind of how UCEAP works with UC students. So some of these providers work with other universities, but are open to all students. The biggest difference with OAP is that the credit is transfer credit instead of UC credit. So while you'll get grades for your classes, they won't factor into your GPA. And of course, you'll get units for all the classes you pass. We also have a system in place to review your courses ahead of time so you know if they're transferable to UC and how they'll transfer back. OAP can be an awesome option for our non-resident students. So whether you're out of state or international student, you only pay the cost of the OAP fees versus all the UC or non-resident fees that you pay typically to go to UC. So sometimes OAP can be a great option for our international non-resident out-of-state students. I just want to point out just some of the OAP providers who go to Europe. And again, we have a lot of acronyms: API, AIFS, CIEE, ISA, IES, SAI. So these will all make sense once you dig into their websites a little bit more, but I do want to highlight a couple because of our unique quarter system. Once you go abroad, a lot of what you'll see is semester-based. So CIEE, as you can see, it's the third bullet down. They offer something called the Open Block Program. So they have countries all over the world, really, but you can choose just Europe, and you can kind of build as many weeks as you want. So you can choose to be in the same location for 10 weeks, or you could be in 2 different locations for those weeks. But what it allows our students to do is be away for a true quarter, which especially during the winter and spring can align quite nicely with our schedule. SAI, which used to stand for Study Abroad Italy, so obviously they're in a few locations in Italy. They also have some quarter options that they're able to work with our students. I just want to say I do see that there's some questions. I will get to those at the very end, so thank you for your patience. Just want you to know I'm not ignoring you. With these various providers, you'll find some of them go to the same locations. They're funneling students to similar universities, the same university. So it's important to really do comparisons when you're researching these options, because it may be that one is cheaper than the other, and one might be cheaper because there's excursions included or different housing options. But you'll find that a lot of these options that I've listed here today go to Spain, France, Italy, Czech Republic, the more popular study abroad locations. You may also find that you prefer one of these options versus UCEAP because they go to a city that UCEAP does not go to. So for instance, I'm going to use the Netherlands as an example again. UCEAP does not send students to Amsterdam. They're not connected to any of the universities in Amsterdam. And while they're in amazing cities, some students want to study in Amsterdam. So you'll find that ISA, API, a couple of the other providers do go there. So that is where sometimes OAP may come into play because you don't see the city listed or the university that you always dreamed of going. And we support that. Excuse me. So there are both immersion and study center options, and you all know what that is because we talked about that on the EAP slide, right? So immersion, you're studying with locals. Study centers, you're only studying abroad with other international students or study abroad students. Another great opportunity through OAP is they are very well connected with internship opportunities for students, and this could be in the host country language or not. So there's a lot of really amazing opportunities for internships. I've had the pleasure of going to see some of the internship sites that our students are at, and it's always very impressive. They're doing real work, and they're getting really neat opportunities to build their resume and really stand out when they graduate. And last but not least, I mentioned this briefly, it is transfer credit from OAP. So if you're a transfer student, you really want to make sure we're finding upper division courses if you've transferred in the max lower division. But aside from that, you petition the courses the same way you would. So as you'll see is a lot of these opportunities go to the very popular European destinations. Sometimes OAP hits on cities that UCEAP does not. Another one is I have students who want to study in Munich, not Berlin. So for Germany, they may want to look into OAP as an option. Or I've had students who want to go to Moscow instead of St. Petersburg. So OAP would be an option. So these are just some examples. Another great example of a strength of OAP is they have programs that are subject-based. EAP does as well, but OAP has a few more. So IES, which is on this list, they have a really neat program where you are working with the European Union, and it's all focused on the European Union. So they're so that's just like a specialized topic that you won't see otherwise. So wanted to mention that. All right, last but not least are our global exchanges. As of now, UCSD has a global exchange with Bauhaus University in Weimar to begin, which is graduate level only, but I still wanted to mention it to you all, and École Polytechnique in France. So global exchanges, you typically go through your department to apply for these, and our office, of course. They are, though, supported by departments on campus, and you pay your UC fees, and that gets you on the global exchange. So it's not UCEAP, it's not OAP, it's its own thing. They're relatively new, but it's also an awesome opportunity to study at a university abroad. All right, so we're getting to the end of the session. I did want to touch on a couple things. First of all is financial aid and scholarships. So many of our students receive aid and they're still able to study abroad, and we want to make sure you know that there is funding available. It differs a bit with the program. So UCEAP, if you receive financial aid, you're going to get all your aid. If you do an OAP program, you're not going to get your UC money because it's not a UC program. So little nuances here and there, but your funding can go with you abroad. So just want to read a couple points. Funding and awards available for all study abroad terms. That goes for fall, winter quarter, spring semester, summer, academic year, you name it, there's money for you. There's also a ton of scholarships. So our office does a really great job of helping you prepare for writing scholarships, reviewing scholarships, and giving you the support you need so that you can apply and hopefully be awarded. I will say today at 3:30, there is a financial aid workshop offered by our financial aid advisor, Tina. So if you have time today, I would encourage you to attend. If not, next week or the week after, she will have those ongoing. And there is the Zoom ID is on our website. Winter and spring 21 scholarship deadlines will be posted soon. They have not been posted yet. So if you are thinking about studying abroad as soon as winter quarter or spring semester, those opportunities will be September, mid-September, October for scholarships for that cycle. There are affordable program options, so that might be something to consider when you're looking at Europe, right? Maybe sometimes these big cities, Paris is going to be a lot more expensive than Bordeaux or smaller cities, or maybe certain countries in Europe are notoriously cheaper even though they are big cities. So these are some things to consider as well. You don't always have to be in the big city. You can go visit the big city, but your dollar might go farther outside of those bigger cities. Last but not least, over $800,000 awarded to UCSD students through study abroad and grants. So there's money out there, and we will do our best to prepare you so you are a great candidate for those awards. All right, what's next? Okay, so we've reached our last slide. I see the questions coming in. I'm going to get to those as soon as we're done here. So thank you for posting those. Continue to research your study abroad options. This is just the beginning. This is just giving you some idea of what's out there in what cities, and we're here to help you narrow that down. So continue to research your options. Next, speak to your major, minor, and college advisors. They may have some great input of when study abroad is, like what term is the best time for you to go abroad. Maybe somewhere on your four-year plan where you have a ton of electives. Maybe it's summer, maybe it's winter quarter. They can give you some great advice about what kinds of classes you can petition from abroad and also when a great time to go would be. A lot of the departments on campus have done a fantastic job of posting courses UCSD students have taken abroad. So for example, the Cognitive Science Department, Biology, among others, have listed spreadsheets of courses students have petitioned, so you can use that as a research tool as well. Colleges usually have the information on their departments, usually have the information on their websites, either a tab about study abroad or under undergraduate opportunities. So they can give you a lot of great feedback there as well. Please check out our winter spring 21 deadlines. Some have passed, some have been extended. I just extended all mine to June 8th, but really there's some flexibility. So just reach out to us through the Virtual Advising Center and talk to us so that we can help you plan for spring 21. As I mentioned earlier, you can still attend a first step session if you feel like you would like to understand the different ways you can study abroad further. They're Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Or you can set up an appointment with a study abroad advisor. Let's say you want to meet with me and talk about the countries that I mentioned. Reach out to us through the Virtual Advising Center with 3 appointment times that work for you, and we'll send you a Zoom appointment. Last but not least, I know COVID is on everybody's minds. That's why I'm so happy to see so many of you here today. Study abroad is still, we're moving forward. We have some programs still going this fall. We're waiting to hear what happens. We have not heard anything about spring just yet. Some providers have canceled programs. Some were kind of waiting to see what happens. So being flexible and understanding and open-minded, it's really great time to exercise those skills right now as we all learn together how this is going to proceed. But I love seeing you all here today because it means you're optimistic. We're thinking about the future. Maybe we're thinking about next summer or fall when we'll have more answers to what's happening, and maybe we'll feel more confident going, because I understand how this could bring some doubt, right, about what our decisions are. But we're here for you. We're here to talk about all of it. And I'm going to answer the questions now. So let me go to my little Q&A feature here. All right, I'm just going to go through these and answer. Amazing food. Yes, amazing food. That's a great reason to study abroad. Why not? There's so many cuisines, and you learn about culture through cuisine too. So it's an awesome opportunity, especially the food that comes in through immigrants and other cultures. It's so amazing, really builds the foundation of Europe. So I think, Alyssa, thank you for that. Anonymous, when will 2021 Global Seminar Locations classes be released? Okay, so we are currently in the, We are currently reviewing applications from faculty members who are proposing their study abroad opportunities for next summer. We will know beginning of fall quarter, we will have our list of 2021 global seminars. So thank you for that question. I'm finishing up my 3rd year, about to start my 4th. Do you think it's too late to study abroad? I don't. I never do. Well, advisors will never say that. Miriam, there's still time. What happens now is planning. So I would say as soon as you can. I know the quarter is winding down, so you're probably focused on papers and finals and all that good stuff. But if it feels like a break to look at study abroad opportunities, there's still time to apply for next winter and spring options, next summer. And depending, as I mentioned, looking at your 4-year plan or 5-year plan, looking at the quarters that you have left and what requirements you have, where could you successfully take classes abroad, right? So I think there's still time, and I mean, we're getting close to some deadlines, but it's all about that research and planning. And I think if in the next few weeks you really focus in on that, we can find a great study abroad program for you. All right, so next question. If I received Pell and Cal grant, how much would it cover for a UCEAP program in the UK as an example? Well, that is a great question for our financial aid advisor. And the reason I'm throwing it to her is because everyone's grants are so nuanced. But what I know is your award, whatever you get, will go with you abroad, okay? So your Pell and your Cal grant will go with you abroad. So it might be for what you would normally get during a regular school year. It might adjust a little bit depending on where you choose to study abroad. But that money, if you choose a UC program, actually, or OAP, Cal, their non-UC monies will travel with you abroad. So that's fantastic. It will go with you, and Tina can give you more details how much it would cover, but you can expect that money to cover some of the cost. All right, great questions. Okay, can you still attend a summer 21 program if you're graduating spring 21? So yes, there's a couple answers to that question. You can participate in a summer 21 program, but that would just move your quarter of graduation till summer 21 instead of spring 21. So depending on what happens next spring, you can still participate in commencement ceremonies and whatnot if that's happening then, but your graduation would be for the quarter you complete all of your coursework, and that is where it would change from spring to summer. I would encourage you to speak to your college advising office to clarify, but as I've seen in the past, that typically is not an issue, and will give you an opportunity to participate in a summer program. So as long as you're okay with a summer grad instead of spring, I think it's a fantastic time to study abroad. All right, pumping through these questions. Okay, we answered that one. Let me see. Amazing food, global seminars. Oh, does UCEAP have housing with families, apartments, or on campus? That's a fantastic question. Thank you for asking that. So yes, EAP has all sorts of options, but sometimes it depends on the location, right? So I would say, here's an example. In Italy, they have a few options. They have a homestay option where you can live with an Italian family, which could be amazing if you want to practice the language or learn the language or have that really rich cultural experience. That is a housing with family or a homestay option. Or you can live in an apartment with other UC students that would be scattered throughout the city. So you typically see that combination. Some locations do not have homestay options. In Germany, you would live in an apartment in the city. In Spain, I believe they have a homestay or apartments. Some have dorms. There can be a range of options for our students. So thank you, that's a fantastic question. But homestays are great. Students who have the homestay, sometimes you're placed with another student, so you're not always alone. I think it's more common these days that you would be at a homestay with another study abroad student. But it's a fantastic way to get to know the culture in a more personal way. All right. Okay. I don't know if you're able to answer. I will try my best. Specific program questions, but do you know if the deadline for the France UK Dual Cities program is extended? That's a great program. Right off the top of my head, I don't know, but the best place to look is on our dates and deadlines link on our website. And I think maybe in a minute I will, I'll show you that. But yeah, if you go to our website, studyabroad.ucsd.edu, if you click on students, application dates and deadlines, there's going to be a link, and we are updating that live as we are able to, as we're able to extend deadlines, which is fantastic. If you don't see it listed, I would send us a question through the Virtual Advising Center asking that, and our advisors will get back to you and let you know if they're accepting late applications for that program. And that is, thank you for bringing that program up, because that's another fantastic way. If you're having trouble deciding on one location to study abroad, you can choose programs like this where I'm not remembering the title of the program off the top of my head, but it's a UCEAP program where students are in London and Paris, and it's a 10-week option. It's over the spring quarter, and you're 5 weeks in one location, and then you switch to 5 weeks in another. There's one in Madrid and Rome called European Transformations. So sometimes that can be a fun way to see more of Europe, study more in Europe, and have two programs built in to the structure of the program. OAP options do that as well. That CIEE open block, that would allow you to study in multiple locations. So that's a nice way. If you can't narrow it down and you just don't want to, you can do that in one semester or quarter. Another option is if you wanted to study abroad in multiple locations over the course of a year. I had one student in particular, she did fall in Rome and spring semester in Florence. So you can mix it up like that as well. So if you wanted to see different cities in the same country, or you wanted to go to 2 different countries, that's also allowed. So you can build your study abroad experience however you like, which is really exciting. I think I answered all the questions. I keep going back to the amazing food one. It's making me hungry. Okay. All right, cool. I think that answers all the questions. Are there any other questions I can answer before we go today? All right, I'm gonna stop my share and go back to my big face here. I see maybe one more question came in, so let's see. Oh, I saw it, let's see. Yeah, okay, this is a great question. If we do a study abroad program through OAP, so remember providers or institutions that is not through UCEAP, do we still coordinate everything with study abroad or with them? So yes and yes, you coordinate with both of us. You coordinate with them because you will apply with them directly, but we have an application process for you too, which is very important because our application process helps determine transferability of classes. So we encourage you to do our paperwork first because admissions will review that, and then you'll know going into it how the classes will transfer back to UCSD, and then you can apply through your provider because usually their deadlines are a little bit later. But yes, it's a twofold process. You apply through them and us, and we work together to make sure that it's a great program and a great fit for you. I see one more. When are students able to apply for 21-22? I love it. I'm so excited to see you all optimistic and thinking towards the future. It makes us so happy here in the Study Abroad office. So we will release our application deadlines for the 21-22 school year by fall quarter. So you'll have those available. Most deadlines begin December, January. So we'll have that posted on our website as soon as we have the information for you so you can get started on your applications. Global seminars have an early bird deadline of, they open November 1st, I should say, and they have an early bird deadline of February 1st, and March is their final deadline. That's for global seminars. For UCEAP, summer, fall, year programs are usually December, January, February deadlines, but we will have that all posted. You are right on time to start researching and getting prepared for the 21-22 school year. And I'm so excited to see that question. Thank you. I think that I'm just scrolling through the questions. I think that's all of them. So thank you all so much. I'm so happy to see you all here today. And please reach out to us through the Virtual Advising Center if you have any questions or you want to set up an appointment, and we hope to see you soon.